I'm on the website Reasons for Jesus. This is by Stephen Bankars. He is a ex-New Ager who became a Christian, and this is called Proof the Ascended Masters Are Demons in Disguise. This is from 2015, but it's ageless, so it doesn't matter. Also, I thought it would be a good follow-up to the General Assembly, the Great General Assembly of 2025 video that I just did, because this is what I think is the hierarchy. So, as you see, Jesus is one of these guys, the fake Jesus of the New Age, not the true Christ. Okay, who are the Ascended Masters? If you're familiar with the New Age movement, you may have heard this term used before to describe beings like Buddha, Jesus, and Saint Germain. The claim in this article is not that Buddha and Jesus are demons, but that the Ascended Masters who have disguised themselves as Jesus and Buddha in an esoteric material where this idea first originated have fully disclosed themselves as being fallen angels. Ascended Masters, or the Great White Brotherhood, or Secret Chiefs, are believed to be spiritually enlightened beings who in past incarnations were ordinary humans but have went through spiritual transformation to the point of reaching ascension. Pause. I think the Great White Brotherhood is kind of like what you hear in the QAnon, I'm saying QAnon just to test the algorithm, camp of the White Hats. And they're all talking about ascension as well. There are 7 rays of ascension, and all of the supposed ascended masters are categorized under these rays according to their spiritual qualities, characteristics, and type of message they taught. They all have surpassed the birth cycle, have more good karma than bad, and no longer need to be reborn since they have surpassed 6th level initiation. Pause again. I have shown in many videos the clip, maybe I'll put it in here, of Michael Flynn praying to the Lord of the 7 rays. We are the instrument of your 7-fold rays, and he's quoting the same prayer as Elizabeth Clare Prophet, who's one of these people too. And he's doing it in very gnarly Hank Kunneman's church.
Mighty I am presence. I am here, O God, and I am the instrument of those 7-fold rays and archangels.
We are your instrument of those 7-fold rays and all your archangels, all of them.
And I will not retreat. I will take my stand. I will not fear to speak, and I will be the instrument of God's will, whatever it is.
We will not retreat. We will not retreat. We will stand our ground. We will not fear to speak. We will be the instrument of your will, whatever it is.
Here I am, so help me God, in the name of Archangel Michael and his legions. I am freeborn, and I shall remain freeborn, and I shall not be enslaved by any foe within or without.
In your name, and the name of your legions, we are freeborn, and we shall remain freeborn, and we shall not be enslaved by any foe, within or without. So help me God. God bless you. God bless America. Thank you very much.
There's that. I'm sorry. Initiations are levels of consciousness and stages of soul development, and the more universal your consciousness becomes, the higher you move up the ranks of initiation until you hit the 4th level of initiation, where it's no longer necessary for you to reincarnate. At the 6th level of initiation, you have achieved unity with the I Am, and thus fall into the category of being an ascended master. People meditate to contact ascended masters, pray to ascended masters, and even use ascended master oracle card decks for spiritual guidance and wisdom. In the New Age community, they have almost become some sort of gods that some people even pray to for protection from darkness and negative spirits in the astral planes. This is thought of as something being totally harmless and spiritually safe. But as we are about to see, the Ascended Masters have much darker origins. Pause again. Where he said about praying for protection from darkness and negative spirits in the astral planes. The astral planes. This is just making me think right now about Stargate. This is February of 2025. Stargate was just announced. I also did a video about the Stargate document where it was all about crossing over to the astral plane for remote viewing and other things. Astral projection and all that. And we have a lot of examples, which I did a series, maybe I'll link it below, about Nar prophets tripping to heaven. And it sounds a lot more like astral projection. And that's what I actually think it is. So, okay, I'll stop interrupting so much. The Great White Brotherhood gave Aleister Crowley his Satanism. Crowley was a famous occultist and Satanist from the 1900s. He referred to himself as the Beast 666 and once said, "I was not content to just believe in Satan. I wanted to be his chief of staff." He used to torture and kill animals, used menstrual blood for spell casting, has openly admitted to making blood sacrifices to demons, and performed sex magic on his mistresses, 5 of which ended up committing suicide. He was also a 33-degree Mason, a heroin addict, and believed that for the highest spiritual working, one must accordingly choose that victim which contains the greatest and purest force. A male child of perfect innocence and high intelligence is the most satisfactory and suitable victim. For nearly all purposes relating to magic, human sacrifice is the best. Chapter 12 of The Bloody Sacrifice and Matters Cognate. After reading about the Great White Brotherhood in a book called The Cloud Upon the Sanctuary, Crowley wanted to ascend to the top of the ladder. He started an order called AA, consisting of a series of levels that students would graduate through after performing tasks consisting of black magic and occultic practices, involving astral projection, contact with spirits, and witchcraft. At the top of this order, as the highest ranking being, sat the secret chiefs of the planetary order, the Ascended Masters. One of these secret chiefs he believed in was named Aiwass. This is the being who gave him his entire satanic philosophy and telepathically communicated to him his satanic book titled The Book of the Law, which stated that to do as thou wilt is the highest law. This book is a staple in any Satanist and black magician's library. If members of the Great White Brotherhood are contacting black magic Satanists who practice blood sacrifice to demons and are giving them satanic philosophy, are we really sure these Ascended Masters are of God? Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty. Pause. I'd just like to mention, too, that Stephen Bankars is writing this article, and a lot of his writing and stuff is to get New Agers to see how satanic what they believe in is. So he's talking to more of a New Age audience, as in the paragraph that I just read. So just keep that in mind. The Ascended Masters were first popularized in a book published under Lucifer Publishing Company, founded by a Satanist. The ideas of Ascended Masters was first really introduced in the occult in the late 1700s, but was fully developed and popularized as a mature concept around 1920 by C.W. Ledbetter and Alice Bailey. Alice A. Bailey is a famous occultist, a pioneer in metaphysics, and prominent member of the Theosophical Society, which is a metaphysical school that basically founded the New Age movement. She published her first work on the concept of rays, initiations, and the Great White Brotherhood, which is the Ascended Masters, in her book Initiation, Solar and Human, which brought the ideas of Ascended Masters and soul initiation into the mainstream of the occult and New Age community. This book was published under the publishing company called Lucifer Publishing Company. This was named off the original magazine of the Theosophical Society titled Lucifer. Alice Bailey was a member of the Theosophical Society, and this society is typically regarded as being what started the entire New Age movement. The Theosophical Society was a mystery school that taught esoteric knowledge and ancient mysteries. The founder of the Theosophical Society was a blatant Satanist named Helena Blavatsky, who was a 32nd degree Freemason. Here are some quotes from Volume 2 of her book, The Secret Doctrine, which was a favorite book of Adolf Hitler, by the way. Quote, "In this case, it is but natural, even from the dead letter standpoint, to view Satan, the serpent of Genesis, as the real creator and benefactor, the father of spiritual mankind. For it is he who was the harbinger of light, bright, radiant Lucifer, who opened the eyes of the automaton created by Jehovah, as alleged, and he who was the first to whisper, 'In the day ye eat thereof, ye shall be as Elohim, knowing good and evil,' can only be regarded in the light of a Savior." Quote, another quote of hers, "Lucifer is divine and terrestrial light, the Holy Ghost and Satan at one and the same time," on page 513 of The Secret Doctrine. "And Satan, the enemy of God, is in reality the highest divine spirit." Page 377 from The Secret Doctrine. So when you hear people talking about the divine and stuff like that, this is what it is. Quote, "God created Satan, the fairest and wisest of all his creatures, in this part of his universe, and made him prince of the world and the power of the air. Thus, Satan being perfect in wisdom and beauty, his vast empire is our earth, if not the whole solar system. Certainly no other angelic power of greater or even equal dignity has been revealed to us." Page 229. Yeah, they're pretty blatant. There are well over 100 references to Satan in The Secret Doctrine, which was the primary work of the founder of the Theosophical Society. And according Ponder of This by Alice Bailey, most of The Secret Doctrine was actually channeled to Helena Blavatsky from an ascended master named Joel Kuhl. To read more quotes of hers on Satan, you can click here. We're not doing that. I think we heard enough. So the idea of ascended masters first came out of a mystery school started by a Satanist and a publishing company named after Lucifer, but it gets worse. The story of the ascended masters perfectly mirrors the story of the fallen angels in the Bible, and they worship Satan. Pause again. I'm just going to say that one of the things, some of this information can be a little disturbing, but one of the things that I find very interesting is that all these New Agers and occultists, they aren't making up something that's completely foreign. It is mirroring. It's mirroring, and it's their doctrines and their beliefs are like the opposite of the Bible, but not a completely different. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like the same thing reversed, or they're giving you the enemy's position that is described in the Bible. It's not just some made up thing that is completely disconnected. You know what I mean? Okay. So here we go. On pages 32 and 33 of Initiation, Solar and Human, which was channeled to Alice Bailey by Ascended Master Joel Kuhl, she talks about where these masters are located and how they came here in the first place. Quote, "After the great descent of the spiritual existences, the masters, to the earth, the work they planned to do was systematized. Offices were apportioned, and the process of evolution in all the departments of nature were brought under the conscious, wise guidance of this initial brotherhood. This hierarchy of brothers of light still exists, and the work goes steadily on. They are all in physical existence, either in dense physical bodies, such as many of the masters employ, or in etheric bodies, such as the more exalted helpers and the Lord of the world occupy. Several of the masters in physical bodies dwell in the Himalayan mountains, in a secluded spot called Shagasti, far from the ways of men, but the greater number are scattered all over the world, dwelling in different places in the various nations, unrecognized and unknown, yet forming each in his own place a focal point for the energy of the Lord of the world." Unquote. The Lord of the world in the Ascended Master's teachings is Sanat Kumara, the founder of the Great White Brotherhood and the ruler over the whole etheric plane. The only spiritual entity to be referred to in such a way in the Bible is Satan himself, who Paul calls the God of this world. Here it is, 2 Corinthians 4:4. In their case, the God of this world has blinded the minds of the unbelievers to keep them from seeing the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ, who is the image of God. The God of this world, and Jesus refers to Satan as being the ruler of this world 3 separate times. John 12:31. Now is the judgment of this world. Now will the ruler of this world be cast out. John 14:30. I will no longer talk much with you, for the ruler of this world is coming. He has no claim on me. John 16:11. Concerning judgment, because the ruler of this world is judged. Even the Satanic Bible refers to Satan as the Lord of the earth, page 162. The Bible also talks about Satan and his demons ruling from the air. In which case you used to live when you followed the ways of this world and of the ruler of the kingdom of the air, the spirit who is now at work in those who are disobedient. Ephesians 2:2. We do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Ephesians 6:12. The Bible refers to anything that is above the earth as being the heavens. So what Paul is talking about is a kingdom of the air above the physical earth plane that is occupied by Satan and his fallen angels, aka the etheric plane. So these so-called masters who gave Crowley his satanic philosophy exist within the etheric planes and serve the Lord of the world. And the Bible tells us that demons exist within the heavenly places and serve the God of this world, Satan. So pause again. I'm just saying that a lot of the people who are having experiences and having visions and having throne room visits, having all these different kind of experiences, I do believe some of it may be just made up, and I think some of it is real, but that this is where they're going. Because God does not authorize us to take on our own initiative, to practice things, to be able to do that. That is the occult. In the Bible, it tells us, do not practice any of these things in Deuteronomy, any of this witchcraft. And this is why, because you will make a connection and you will have an experience, and it will be something demonic, even though it might seem nice or good at first. Okay. Let's take a look at the first sentence of that paragraph again. After the great descent of the spiritual existences to earth implies that the ascended masters descended together and fell to the earth all at the same time. In her book, The Externalization of the Hierarchy, on page 118, she says this: when the sons of God who responded to the divine urge to experience, to serve, and to sacrifice separated themselves from the sons of God who responded to no such inspiration. Unquote. So this is literally a direct reference to fallen angels. Literally a direct reference to fallen angels. The Bible calls fallen angels the sons of God in Revelation chapter 12. Jesus is speaking to John and says the following in verses 7 through 9. And there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. The book of Enoch spells out the fall of angels in the exact same way as well. Quote, the watchers look down from heaven and desire the daughters of men. They swear an oath to fulfill their desires, and then descend, marry women, and defile themselves with women. Pause. I'm just going to say, just so you guys know, I don't really believe in the book of Enoch. I'm not saying I don't believe. I don't recommend or rely on the book of Enoch. I'm just staying away from extra biblical books. I would rather just stick with the Bible. Okay, so I know a lot of people, I'm just kind of like, I'd rather just not, but this is in the article, and I know a lot of people out there think that it's a good historical reference or whatever. I just think there's too much controversy with it for me to even, it makes me a little suspicious. I'm just being honest. But anyway, I think the Bible itself is enough to give us the knowledge that we need to defend ourselves from all this. Or in the book of Jude in the Bible, where it says in verse 6, "And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation." Is it just a coincidence that the Bible account of the fallen angels coincides perfectly with the history of the ascended masters? If it still seems like a coincidence, it won't after we understand that Theosophy believed Sanat Kumara is literally Satan. Here is a quote from famous Theosophist Dane Rudyard on Sanat Kumara. "Satan is an anagram for Sanat Kumara, who in the esoteric philosophy of India is the Promethean being who gave mankind the fire of self-conscious and independent individual selfhood, the magic of tone and the art of music." According to the New Encyclopedia of the Occult on page 418, Satan has a possible echo in theosophical lore, where the Lord of the world, the ruler of the earth, and the head of the Great White Lodge is Sanat Kumara. Yes, the Great White Lodge, the White Brotherhood, the White Hats. Just saying, it's me. Here's a quote by Neelikanta Sri Ram in the Theosophical magazine Lucifer from page 2 of an issue published on April of 1961. "The adversary, or Satan, is no other than Lucifer, the light bearer, the bright morning star. He is the initiator awakening the divine faculties of intellect on man. He is the king of the fallen angels, spirits from higher spheres who descended among primitive mankind of the third race." The founder of the entire Theosophical Society, Helena Blavatsky, openly admits this on page 236 of The Secret Doctrine. The allegorical and symbolical meaning of the serpent of Genesis is found explained by the sons of wisdom, or angels from higher spheres, though all and each pertain to the kingdom of Satan, or matter, revealing to men the mysteries of heaven. So according to the Bible, Lucifer and his angels were cast out of heaven to earth and now exist within the air and the heavenly places. And according to Ascended Masters' teachings, the Ascended Masters, separated from the other sons of God, fell to earth in a great descent and now exist in the etheric realms with Satan. And these teachings were brought to us by a mystery school founded by a Satanist and were published under Lucifer Publishing Company. This is just spiritual Satanism and the glorification of fallen angels. If the Ascended Masters really are fallen angels, we should expect them to reject Jesus, and that is exactly what we see. The Ascended Masters' teachings about Jesus are false and ridiculous. And here's a bunch of different Ascended Master, Jesuses, I guess. Jesus is lumped in there with all the other Ascended Masters, but he is called the Christ, or Master Jesus, instead of Jesus Christ. Pause. I think I covered this in a different video, but in the Message Bible, I think they call him Master Jesus in there. So, they also say as above, so below. Instead of thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, they say as above, so below. So, in the Message Bible. Or sometimes they just do away with Jesus and Christ and just call him Sananda. The Christ is a member of the sixth cosmic ray and is referred to as one of the top Ascended Masters. This model teaches that Jesus was not the Son of God and is actually underdeveloped and unevolved in comparison to beings who are 7th, 8th, and 9th level initiates. This completely contradicts everything Jesus ever said about himself. And pause again. If you heard my the video I did about the Great General Assembly, and I was reading a little bit from Alice Bailey's book. Yeah, she talks about Jesus and Christ a lot, but this is their version. It's a different version. It's not Jesus Christ. According to Initiation, Solar and Human, the Master Jesus was previously incarnated as Joshua, the Hebrew military leader in the 13th century BC, and Joshua the high priest in the 6th century BC. Jesus was also incarnated as Joseph of the coat of many colors, King David, who lived 1037 BC until around 970 BC, and Elisha. Jesus then reincarnated again as Jesus of Nazareth, and again as Greek philosopher Apollonius of Tyana, right after his physical death around the mid-1st century. After he died as Apollonius, he became a fifth-level initiate. He then incarnated again as Hindu philosopher Ramanuja. According to Elizabeth Clare Prophet, the false prophet of the Church Universal and Triumphant, the largest ascended master teaching religion. Yes, the one that Mike Flynn was praying after. Anyway, the Master Jesus incarnated twice as the Emperor of Atlantis, once in 33,000 BC and again in 15,000 BC. According to her, he did this in order to aid the white magicians in the war of the white magicians and the black magicians that was going on in Atlantis at that time. By the way, Atlantis never existed, and I will prove that it's all part of the satanic deception in another article video. And according to famous esotericist and ascended master teacher Benjamin Creme, the Master Jesus and Sanat Kumara visited the Americas in the late 7th century and early 8th century, and this gave rise to the Mayan legend of Quetzalcoatl. Pause. No, never mind. So apparently, sorry. Okay, something about Quetzalcoatl. It's just, I don't know. I might look into it more. Some people think it might be somewhere, something to do with QAnon. Just say that. It's just a possibility. I don't know. So apparently Master Jesus and Sanat Kumara, the Lord of the World, aka Satan, appeared to the Mayans in the form of a winged serpent who looked like a dragon and wanted human blood sacrificed to him. Are we really naive enough to think this is not demonic? This ridiculous doctrine teaches that Jesus Christ lived a total of at least 10 separate times on earth. As the Ascended Master's model teaches, he is just the Christ, who is a sixth-ray cosmic master who has lived 10 lives trying to help people ascend. Satan's mission of turning people away from the real Jesus, his only threat, is complete with the Ascended Master's teachings. The teachings of fallen angels. Here is a brief look at some of the evil themes pervasive in Alice Bailey's works, which were all channeled to her by an ascended master of the Great White Brotherhood. Joel Kuhl is the master who transmitted 24 books to Alice Bailey, all of which were published under Lucis Trust, which was formerly called Lucifer Publishing Company. And also, it is the spiritual foundation connected to the United Nations. Let's see what these fallen angels have to say. Eugenics. Quote, the emphasis in the future will shift from the urge to produce large families to that of producing quality and intelligence in the offspring. This will include that science of which eugenics is the distorted and exoteric indication. And that's from Education in the New Age, page 133 and 134. Racism. Bailey said that the new race will be distinguished by a state of consciousness which is the Aryan or mental consciousness or state of thinking. The state of consciousness will find its expression in people as far apart racially as the Japanese and the American or the Negro and the Russian. And that's from Race and Initiation, page 593 and 594. The new race is forming in every land, but primarily in those lands where the fifth or Caucasian races are to be found. Primarily in the lands where the fifth or Caucasian races are to be found. Education in the New Age, page 118. Very low-grade human bodies will disappear, causing a general shift in the racial types toward a higher standard. The destiny of the nations. Very low-grade human bodies will disappear. That's very interesting with all this like transhumanism and stuff. Anti-Semitism. Yes, the New Agers are very much anti. So, quote, symbolically, the Jews represent, from the point of view of the hierarchy, that from which all masters of the wisdom and the lords of compassion emerge. Materialism, cruelty, and a spiritual conservatism, so that today they live in Old Testament times and are under the domination of the separative, selfish, lower concrete mind. I have sought with love and understanding to point out the faults of the world religions with their obsolete theologies and their lack of love, and to indicate the evils of ism. The present world faiths must return to their early simplicity, and Orthodox Judaism, with its deep-seated hate, must slowly disappear. That's from the Externalization of the Hierarchy, page 543. The solution will come, as I said, when the races regard the Jewish problem as a humanitarian problem, but also when the Jew does his share of understanding, love, and right action. And that's the Externalization of the Hierarchy, page 78. Freemasonry. The Masonic movement, when it can be divorced from politics and social ends and from its present paralyzing condition of inertia, will meet the need of those who can and should wield power. It is the custodian of the law. It is the home of the mysteries and the seat of initiation. It holds in its symbolism the ritual of deity and the way of salvation, is pictorially preserved in its work. The methods of deity are demonstrated in its temples, and under the all-seeing eye, the work can go forward. From the Externalization of the Hierarchy, page 511. One of the things that will eventuate when the new universal religion has sway and the nature of esotericism is understood will be the utilization of the banded esoteric organisms, the Masonic organism and the church organism, as initiating centers. So do you think, do you think there's some churches out there being initiating centers? I do. These three groups, esoteric organisms, Masonic organisms, and church organisms, these three groups converge as their inner sanctuaries are approached. There is no dissociation between the one universal church, the sacred inner lodge of all true Masons, and the innermost circles of the esoteric societies. And that's also from the Externalization of the Hierarchy. Pro-war. The following quotes were in reference to World War II and what was going on in Nazi Germany. Today we are watching the death of a civilization or cycle of incarnation of humanity. In all fields of human expression, crystallization and deterioration had set in. There is everywhere a cry for change and for those new forms in the religious, political, educational, and economic life of the race which will allow of freer and better spiritual expression. Such a change is rapidly coming and is regarded by some as death, terrible and to be avoided if possible. It is indeed death, but it is beneficent and needed. The Externalization of the Hierarchy, page 105. Quote, pain has always been the purifying agent employed by the lords of destiny to bring about liberation. The accumulated pain of the present war and the inherited pain of the earlier stage begun in 1914 is bringing about a salutary and changing world consciousness. The Lord of Pain has descended from his throne and is treading the ways of earth today, bringing distress, agony, and terror to those who cannot interpret his ends. To those who cannot interpret his ends. The Externalization of the Hierarchy. After World War II was over, she said, all its unspeakable horrors, its cruelties, and its cataclysmic disasters was but the broom of the Father of all, sweeping away obstructions in the path of his returning Son. The Externalization of the Hierarchy, page 619. Can you believe that? So just remember when she talks, everything she says is inverted. So when she talks about the Father of all, she's not talking about God, she's talking about Satan. and his returning son, the Antichrist, who they call the Christ. Another quote. The atomic bomb emerged from the first ray ashram, working in conjunction with a fifth ray group. But from the long-range point of view, its intent was and is purely beneficent. Externalization of the hierarchy, page 548. The next stage of human evolution will emerge as a result of the purificatory action of the World War. And that's from Education in the New Age, page 149. So according to the Ascended Masters, eugenics, racist, war, anti-Semitism, and Freemasonry are not only acceptable, they are actually encouraged and endorsed. And we are only scratching the surface with quotes like this. More of them can be found here. But now that we know they are fallen angels serving the Lord of the world, Satan, in the astral planes, it should really come as no surprise. Tying it all together, these ascended masters have a history that mirrors the fallen angels exactly. They served Lucifer, Satan, which Theosophists themselves tell us, and were first popularized by the Theosophical Society, founded by a Satanist Freemason under Lucifer Publishing Company. They gave Crowley his Satanism. They make a mockery of Jesus and give us false promises of ascension while promoting war, eugenics, and racism. If you feel a conviction in your spirit or a red light going off in your inner radar, it would be extremely wise to throw away your Ascended Master Oracle cards. Stop praying to these evil beings disguised as solar angels and disregard any teachings containing references to the Ascended Masters as being authorities of light. Pause. Again. What I'm seeing in the church, especially with the NAR, a lot of this New Age stuff that's crept in, and even Bethel Church has destiny cards or some kind of cards that are similar to tarot cards, and all their angel fixation of working with angels, meeting angels, seeing angels. Emma the angel that went from William Branham to Todd Bentley and all these different things. You've got the Dutch Sheets and his brother Tim Sheets that are just always focusing on angels, and it's weird, and I think it's the same thing. They're allowing people to come into contact with spirits that are not from God. Their teachings are evil, and they are not of God. They are fallen angels who serve the Lord of the world, who we now know is Satan, according to Theosophists themselves. As Jesus said in Matthew 24:24, for false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you ahead of time. Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. It is not surprising, then, if his servants also masquerade as servants of righteousness. It is very easy to get misled sometimes, and the Ascended Masters had me fooled for a while too. I once slept with some oracle cards of theirs in a room I was sleeping in, and looking back on it, it only made me feel weird and creeped out, even when I had no idea who they were. We've been duped. These are just demons in the etheric planes disguising themselves as bringers of wisdom. And they all fallen angels. They are all fallen angels. Their mission is to lead people away from Jesus Christ before their time is up. And that was Stephen Bancarz, who is the former founder and writer at SpiritScienceAndMetaphysics.com, which was one of the largest New Age websites in the world. After an encounter with Jesus Christ, he quit his job as a New Age writer back in 2015, giving his life fully to the Lord. Stephen has since founded Reasons for Jesus as an apologetics website. is the co-author of the best-selling book, The Second Coming of the New Age, and has been featured on programs like the 700 Club and 100 Huntley Street. He also creates Christian content on YouTube, pastors young adults at Evangel Church in Brentford, Ontario, and works full-time in hydraulics. Maybe next I will do this one. I'm sorry. Or coming up soon, I think I would like to do this. It's about the chi energy, and this is by Marcia Montenegro. She also has a, I think, a website called From Christianity to the New Age, or Christian Answers for the New Age, something like that. And with all the new technology and the med beds and all this other kind of stuff, I'm wondering if this is all kind of a connection here. So anyway, thank you for watching or listening.
Run.
There's just one name that can keep you out of hell, and it's the name of Jesus. The name of Jesus.